And I think the topic of decarbonization is going to find its way into just about every conversation this week, and really great to have you with us. We have a special treat now. I'd like to ask Michael Tusiani and Jeppe Jensen to take the stage. This is our annual Captains of Industry session that Michael and I dreamed up, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And it was an opportunity to kind of highlight ship owners who are not with us at Marine Money typically, and who Michael works with. And Michael always does a fantastic job sort of helping sort of articulate companies and the vision along with management. So Jeppe, it's great to have you with us. Really a tremendous pleasure. Over the years, I think we started, Mike, with John Angelakousis, Maria Angelakousis, Peter Livanos, and others. So you're in good company. And really delighted to have you both. So Michael, take it away.
Am I on? No. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We mentioned all the various people that I had the privilege of interviewing over the years, and I asked Matt when he selected Jeppe Jensen. I said, you know, Jeppe, I've known him a long time, and Captain of Industry. He said, absolutely. The gentleman in 10 years has built up a fleet of 50 ships, starting from scratch, and has a fleet value of over $3 billion. So it's a tremendous accomplishment, and it's a pleasure to be with you again, Jeppe. So let's start off with the fact that in 1985 you joined Moller-Maersk, and you were a trainee, and you stayed there 22 years. First of all, why shipping? And then why Maersk?
Okay, well, that's easy to answer. At the time in '85, the unemployment rate for young people was very high. And frankly, you send out a lot of applications, and I was very, very lucky that AP Moller actually got back to me. The others didn't. My school papers were quite poor. The thing was with AP Moller, they didn't look at your school papers. They looked at your personal profile via some tests. And that's actually how I ended up in shipping.
So you're saying it was luck?
It was pure luck.
Okay.
Yes.
And luck plays a lot in shipping, I must say. So you were there 22 years, and in 2007, you decided to team up with Peter Livanos, and you took over GasLog. Why?
Well, I've always had a sort of a dream of getting my own business, building something on my own. And after 22 years in AP Moller, which was a fantastic time, and we had this very, very special bond among the trainees starting together. It was like kind of soldier thing, and you sort of feel that AP Moller becomes a part of your identity, at least you did in the past. But I felt time was right to sort of move on, and I was getting older, and that was the right time to sort of test whether you could actually build something on your own. And before you, I just want to mention that I actually worked at home in the nights after work hours just to see how could this be structured, and ended up with a commitment letter from Lehman Brothers of $300 million to start a Danish shipping company. But then Peter Livanos called me, and well, then we met.
Okay, but with Peter, what was the vision for GasLog?
No, the reason why he contacted me, he heard about this this letter I got from Lehman Brothers at the time, and contacted me and said, well, I have same aspirations as you have. I want to build a business. I registered a company called GasLog. There's really no activity but a technical management agreement for one LNG carrier. But why don't we get together and see whether we can do it rather than competing? And that was how we ended up shaking hands, and and we built GasLog from there.
But after building GasLog, I prepared it for an IPO. And just after 5 years, you decided to leave. Why?
No, the sort of common vision we had was really to build scale, and we didn't talk so much about where we were going to end up with the company, but we started sort of looking at building the business, ordering ships, getting contracts in place. The business model was very simple. We ordered 2 ships, then we fixed them, then we ordered 2 more on speculation, fixed them, so it was a kind of growth model. And after 10 or 12 new buildings on order, he was the principal shareholder, of course, so there was a desire to sort of find a way to get in the public market and attract some public capital. I wasn't necessarily in agreement with that. I had other preferences, and that was also why we decided to sort of prepare the IPO, get it done, and then we parted after that.
So 10 years ago, in 2012, you formed Celsius. What was your ambition at the time? Did you have a clear strategy, or did you just say, well, let me wing it, I'll play it by ear?
No, when you have been very busy for 5 years building a fairly large company, I mean, you don't think about much after when you quit. And it was sort of playing golf for 3 weeks, and then you get bored, and something had to happen. And I had a sort of idea of buying 2 or 3 ships on my own, and then basically stay in the industry. And but you know, once you get started, one thing takes another, and yeah, certainly you get people on board. They have also sort of ideas and aspirations, and then we ended up where we are today.
Okay, but then what happened? You teamed up. You decided to team up with private equity and infrastructure funds. Why? What was that? What was the intention? What was the vision?
No, I think there was an intention, but I mean, the simple reason was really that I couldn't afford to build a company on my own, other than a couple of ships. So if you wanted some scale, you really had to sort of find and attract capital. And we spent a lot of time initially actually doing some research, meeting with lots of private equity companies, 35, 40. It took 5-6 months before we made the first investment. And then we found a handful of people we liked and were with similar DNA as we had. And then we started from there.
Okay, but what was or is your criteria for investing in ships?
But there are various criteria. That depends very much on which sector you're looking at. It depends on your counterpart. It depends on what kind of contract, the duration of contract, the shipping, the age of the ship, new buildings versus second-hand. There are lots of criteria. It's really difficult to say, but we obviously want to end up at certain IRR thresholds.
Okay, well, when you talk private equity, the first thing that comes up is exit strategy. Okay? How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, if you look at the company, we have been very active. We have bought a lot of ships and sold a lot of ships. Last year was an extremely busy year. We sold 22 ships and bought 19. And so we try to cater for exit when there's a peak in the market, and obviously buy low, sell high. But actually, just to sort of illustrate how we also look at it, is that we have had some container vessels for some years, obviously bought at the very bottom of the market, and they were sold last year because it made sense. It was a very profitable exit for us and with that particular partner. But at the same time, we actually bought 12 other container vessels and ordered some new buildings, you can say in a higher market. But rather than operating these initial vessels on a very short-term basis, we then turned it around and made some industrial moves and bought container vessels, obviously at a higher price, but also with much, much longer charters attached.
Yep. Most shipping companies focus on 1 or 2 sectors, such as tankers and tankers and dry, or LPG and chemicals. Your 50-ship fleet is rather balanced. You have 14 containers, 10 chemical carriers, 13 product carriers, and 13 LNG carriers. Why do you have such diversification? And is this a balance theory, or is there a theory behind it?
Yeah, there is a theory behind it, and it has something to do with the sort of very lean structure we have in our platform, where we do not have a CEO and a COO and senior people for each segment. We have it in the Celsius platform, and then we run the various businesses with a handful of people who can actually sort of specialists with the tankers and the dry or containers, etc. And yeah, this is also good now. We are in a very special period of time where basically everything relating to shipping is doing well. But this is not normal days, and normally it's something is up and other things are down. So actually getting back to your point about private equity partners and how they want to exit, this allows us to exit with the structure we have, for instance, one sector like we did with dry bulk last year. But then we maintain people in the organization. We don't have to get rid of any people when you do like that. So it is, it's a very scalable platform, but we have, and we can sort of be flexible with the various shipping segments when we are diversified as we are.
Well, I have to ask the next question, a logical question. Is there any sector that you favor?
Well, no, I like them all, but okay, I favor LNG a little bit. I have to admit that. I really like it, and but it's also exciting with the other business we're in. So, yeah.
Yeah, but LNG, you know, we've been involved in many transactions over the years, but you know, they're right now new building price is $235 million, if you're lucky. Because the prices seem to be going up daily. And the business is risky. And there's also, as you know, a lot of residual value risk that are people just pushing aside right now. So are you comfortable as, you know, Celsius taking these risks? And it's a huge amount of money.
It is, and no, but yes, we are comfortable, but obviously you cannot calculate your or do your spreadsheets in the same way as you did 6 or 8 months ago when prices were $50 million lower. I mean, if you use a linear depreciation of $240 million price compared to $180 million price, and you have a 10-year contract, then you will obviously end up much higher if you use the same criteria. So you have to sort of depreciate your assets a little bit more, meaning that your charter rates that you can offer will be substantially higher now compared to what you could offer 6 months ago. But with that in mind and long-term contracts, yes, we are comfortable to take the risk. We believe very much in LNG as the transition fuel.
Well, we can debate what a long-term contract is, but we won't go into that right now because they're no longer the 20-year contracts that we talked about years ago. Talking about LNG, your favorite area, you've gone out and you've ordered 180,000 cubic meter ships. And the industry standard seems to have settled at about 174, right? Why have you gone to the 180s? You want to be different?
Yes. No. And to add to that, well, economy of scale is really important in LNG. And frankly, I don't understand why people continue to order 174s, because the difference of 6,000 cubic meter cargo capacity is very important and carries a lot of value. And you do not have any compatibility issues with terminals and stuff like that. There may be 1 or 2 paper restrictions for terminals for 180 compared to 174. But if you do 6 or 7 round trips a year, you can easily calculate how much extra value that is for the charterer to deliver 6,000 cubic meter more. And our design actually has a little extra feature also where we have the filling level has been improved to 99.4% rather than standard, which is 98.5. So in that in combination, we can deliver 7,000 cubic meter more gas for each voyage. That's a lot of value.
Well, let's hope you're right, and charterers see it the same way. Have you thought about FSRUs? I mean,
yes. I mean, we have looked at it, but frankly, I think people with legacy vessels, they are much more in the game than we are. I mean, our fleet is brand new. We have latest technology and all that. We don't have anything to work around, and I think that's it's probably better to stay away and leave that to the people who have steam turbine vessels and so on in the fleet. But well, you've been in the industry for many years. You will know about it. But what's your opinion?
Well, I think FSRUs is, you know, it's a totally different business. There are LNG carriers around, but it's a different business. It caters, you're really running a factory and not a ship. And it's a totally different business. It's a different mentality set. You're dealing in countries and companies that they're not the Exxons and they're not the Shells and they're not the BP. So you need a different mindset, a different set of personnel to do it. That would be my opinion. I think it's totally different. And now, of course, if you were lucky enough and you ordered an FSRU, you're sitting in gravy right now because this is the market. But it's a totally different market, in my opinion. Okay, so what do you think of the future of LNG? That's your favorite sector. Do you really see that this run is going to continue?
Yes, I do see this will continue for many years. We really believe that LNG is the transition fuel that we need, going from coal and black oil to more green energy sources, and it will take a lot of time before we get there. So yes, we believe very much in LNG, and we will likely also invest more in LNG in the near future.
Getting back to Celsius, initially you outsourced your technical management, but later you decided to set up your own operational company, Celsius Tech. Why, and could you explain Celsius Tech?
Well, it was really never the intention to build a technical management company. My desire was really to have a very, very lean platform and a very lean company without any distraction of technical matters to the management. They were supposed to work with new deals and build scale and value. But it is so that when we ordered the first couple of LNG carriers, the intention was also to outsource technical management as we do on all our other ships. But I had some old contacts in the LNG industry in a couple of the oil companies, and they were the first to call and congratulate with the order, but basically also saying, you need to insource technical management to qualify for long-term contracts with the oil coast. And so that is the reason why we did it. It took a couple of years. It's a lot of hard work to set up a technical management company from scratch and to get the right things in place. And in particular in LNG, where you have crew matrices, crew matrix requirements and so on, that are very tough, then it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy really to set that up. But now we have it, and now we are qualified for the test.
Do you think that gives you an advantage with charterers?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There are charterers who will not accept, let's say, investors who outsource technical management if it's for longer term contracts.
Is your aim to list Celsius or part of Celsius? I mean, you have 10 LNG carriers. That's huge
Yeah.
sector.
13.
13, excuse me.
No, the aim is not to list. And just getting back to my partnership with Peter and the IPO of GasLog at the time, one of my sort of objections about the IPO was really that it is really distraction of management time, and you have to deal with analysts all the time, and rather than creating value. And if you have the ability just to stay private, I think there's a lot of value you can actually keep in-house. But to your question, no, Celsius is not, as a company, not sort of targeting an IPO at all. I really like to keep it private. But I wouldn't rule out that one of our businesses, the tankers or the LNG, could be carved out at a point in time and listed if that makes sense, or if that sort of caters for an exit for our partners and ourselves if that's required. But it's definitely not in the
cards.
No.
Right now you're 58, if I can say, and you have a son working closely with you. Will the firm be in his future?
Well, he will definitely be a part of the future of the company, but whether it will be his firm at the end of the day, I don't know. I have a daughter as well. I hope she will also join the business at a point in time. I like to have the children in the company, and in particular because they are hungry, and that's very important. But nothing has been sort of determined of who's going to run the company when I'm not there. So.
All right, talking about your son,
Well, one simple thing, and this is something I've always looked at privately and also in business, but it is really to get the long term right. I know it sounds sort of easy just to say, but I've really lived that. We have never been short-sighted in decision making and stuff like that, and I really try to tell him, don't send that when he writes an angry email, or when it's everything about getting the long term right. Sleep on it, think about it one more time, these kind of things. So, but that's probably the only thing I'll pass on. Otherwise, I think I'll just watch and see what the younger generation can do, which we can't, and they're actually quite smart.
Do you have any regrets about any of your business decisions?
Well, I've known you for many years, and no, I don't have any regrets, really. No, I mean, I had a wonderful time with AP Moller. At the time, I was very proud of being an employee of AP Moller for many years, and I also had a very good time with Peter. And now I have my own. This has been my dream since I was a boy, and it's really good. It feels good. I'm very happy every day when I go in the office, and yeah, that's basically no regrets.
Would you do anything differently?
No, I don't think so. Frankly, not. Well, now and then, my wife is a little bit annoying. So, but no, really, no, I don't think. All good.
I'd like to ask one last question. You were in Korea last week, and I was in Doha. Did you order the ships?
They wouldn't give me any slots.
Nothing in 2026?
No. I would have ordered actually 1 or 2 ships if we could have had the slots. But right now the Korean yards are not as easy to sort of talk to as they were in the past, in spite of long-term relationships and stuff like that. The situation has changed a lot. In fairness, you can say they've also lost a lot of money over the past 10 years, so probably they have their time now. But it is a problem with Korean slots, and you will probably see that some newcomers, new LNG shipyards from China will offer attractive slots for the owners in the very near future.
Well, I can add to that. Basically, there are huge disputes going on now between the Qataris and the shipyards, because basically the shipyards, as you say, they want their pound of flesh. It's their turn. The alternatives aren't very, very great. And, there's a huge differential for what the options were priced at and what today's prices are. So the battle continues. But I think the shipyards are going to win this one, I think, especially for deliveries in 2026, 2027. So I think we've run out of time, and I just want to say, Jeppe, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be, your friend and working with you for so many years, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks very much. It's time for a coffee break. We will see you all at 11:30. The LPG, which has been tipped as the hottest sector over the last day and a half, so we can see if we all agree with that. So 11:30, LPG. Enjoy the break, sponsored by the V Group. Thank you.